Once the design is finished and ready to go, there's a lot of ways you can choose to present it, download it, anything else. There's a lot of really useful options within Canva, and we'll go through a bunch of them now. So of course there's the straight up download where it's just give me this image, which works great, wonderfully. But there's also some more interesting things like presenting it, turning it into a movie, and some other ones too I want to cover. But let's get through down to the basics. So this is the kind of just free-flowing design we had created before. Not really trying to create anything too great, just to show an example of it. And I've dragged in this animated GIF just to show an example of the movie, which I'll cover here in a second. But we're done with this design and we want to download it. So in the top right, very prominent button, you'll notice the download. If you click just the word download, it's going to focus on downloading the files. So give me a file for this design. Now if you want to have more of the options, you'll notice that beside is a little downward triangle. If you click that, there's the download option, which brings us to the exact same screen, but there's also these other ones which we'll cover. But one at a time, let's just cover the download. So we want to get a file from this. So the first one, a PNG, that is a high quality, kind of lossless version. So if you're uploading to social media or anything, I highly recommend you use PNG because you won't lose any quality to it. JPEG is a compressed format, so if you have a bunch of photos on your website that you're going to be posting, JPEG will serve very well because the file size will be smaller, which means that somebody loads your website, they'll be less. But both of those are just images, so give me the flat, straight image. PDF is exactly as it sounds. You can actually create a PDF document, and that would, if there's scalable elements, it'll allow them to zoom in and zoom out without losing quality. Now you can't really post a PDF on Instagram, Facebook, or any of those other ones, but if you've created a report in one of those templates or even a presentation, which we'll cover in a bit, PDF can be a really useful format for that. PDF print, so the two differences there, standard and print, that's just going to reduce the quality of the images. So if it's something that the visuals aren't as important and you have to email it all over the place, you might want to consider standard. If it's something you're going to print, send to a printer, then you'd want to go for PDF print or just something of more high quality. So standard, lower quality images, print, high quality images. So video, so animation here, just the bottom to mention quickly, it's a pro feature, although I have a trick for that coming up where you can actually download a GIF for use, and I'll show you that in a second on different. But if you've just created a design here, you'll see it's only a pro feature. Video does work though, so for the video, it will just be an MP4 file. You can choose which pages will come downloading, and I'll swing back around to that in a second, but here you can download a video of it, and this especially works well if you have animated GIFs, and all the video is going to do, very simply, is go through the screens one by one. I've actually created the video here to give an example, so as you can see, if you do have something animated, it'll animate in the video, but otherwise it's going to be fairly basic and straightforward. It's just going to go through your various slides. So if you did want to have a video format, kind of tell a story, if you wanted to have animated GIFs throughout, this would be the option for you to consider, and that's downloading an MP4. Now you notice in all of those examples, there's you can choose which pages. So in our case here, we have 5, 6, I think we have 9 pages. In the download part, you can actually choose which particular ones you want, and that's an option for all of them. So if I want to download PNGs, by default, it'll download 9 of them, 9 PNGs for me. Instead though, you can just choose, I only want the 1 or 2, maybe I only want number 3. This will come in handy because if, let's say, this is a format that you like to use inside of your social media all the time, you can actually work within the same file and kind of just keep duplicating this particular artboard. So I'll switch this around, and let's say I want a different photo now, different coffee photo. Let's grab this one here. Double click, go into it, I want to have more version of that coffee. All right, and now when I download it, as opposed to downloading the first one, I can just download the second. So again, we'll go PNG, I hit download, selected PNG, and now I can choose just the second page that I just wrote. Second image, PNG. As you can see, it keeps defaulting to the video because I have this PNG. So it's like, well, there's an animation. You want to be able to actually see it in video. You'll see too that I added a title to this page. That's going to help for the choosing which ones I want to download. but you could choose them all. So you are finished with the design and you're ready to download it. There's the big download button in the top right. You can choose the file type between the PNG, which is a high quality image, and it's listed here, which is really nice for in case you forget. JPEG for the small image, PDF in small and large sizes for amount of quality. Video, which will just kind of go through all of the boards you have here one at a time. Now this is for kind of a stock standard design image of the Canva, but there are some more interesting options to share or to embed on sites as well. Now the first one here, if you want to send it to somebody, if you're working with somebody, you want to review or just send them a note, you have the share link. It works a lot like the share button we covered in a different course, but in this case it's just giving you a quick, simple URL you can copy and paste to somebody. So if we open up a new tab, just that simple, and they can kind of browse through it. You can see here they have an option to edit it. They can see the design in its entirety. So that just produces, much like the share button, it just produces a very simple link that you can send off to somebody. Let's get out of that. So remember, to get to these ones, I'm pressing the down arrow beside download. Present. So this will, inside of a browser, just let you control one by one the various screens. And all the better, there's a little bit of animation you can add to it. So if you are making it kind of a presentation to somebody, you can have sort of an interesting transition between the various screens. So let's actually go with the circle. Standard being you have to click through, so you are presenting it. Click, click, click. So this is within present. Autoplay, just allow it to go through. You can almost imagine if you had a TV screen at a booth or any like a webinar or something, you could have this in the background just playing one by one to show your various wares, or even inside of a store, for instance, to show off like new things as a display. And presenter view, if you've made notes on any of these and you're presenting to somebody else, so on one screen you want them to see something, and then on your screen you want to be able to read the notes to keep you on track, you can do that too. But if we just do really quick standard, we'll present. There you have it. See, so it goes full screen, and now I'm in control. Every time I hit next, it has a little animation for me. So this is very much about either you have a kind of static display that you want to have something kind of show, or you're showing it off to somebody, and just like a PowerPoint presentation, one by one, presenting. So that's in download, down arrow, and present. Last options really are just about sending it out. So if you want to send it to a Facebook page, to a Twitter page, or send it via email, Facebook and Twitter will require you to connect your account. So connect your Facebook account. Twitter, obviously same thing. Email, it actually just asks, what do you want to connect it as? Like, do you want to do it as an image or a PDF? Do you want to include it in the email or send them a link to a presentation they can click through, the presentation we just did? What pages? And then to. And then it actually sends it from Canva, which is nice. So that was in the email. So from there you can see the various other groups. This is just where it sends to. So much like Facebook, you have a Facebook group. Animation, that's just a pro feature. Save it to Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive. So if you want to just save the file and have it available on one of those online storage places, that's an option. Mailchimp, if you are using that as your email provider, then you can save the image and have it available to that system. And that's really nice if you're writing a bunch of emails to folks from Mailchimp, produce your images and have it connect immediately without having to download, upload it. So nice service there. And then very much for the rest of these, it's just where else would they go? Now the print, obviously you're going to have a bit of issue if you're trying to print this size on a business card or anywhere else, but they offer a printing service if you want to pay and get physical copies of whatever you're doing. Embed and website we'll cover in a different one. Video you saw from the options there. There's PowerPoint, and put it to your profile. You can have a public, much like a Dribble account or a Behance, you can have a public profile to say, here's the designs I've created on Canva, which would be useful if you're trying to create some work or trying to get some new work. So here's the trick. This actually, it's a bit of jumping ahead, but I don't mind covering it here instead. So if you try to go download, you'll see that an animation specifically is cut off. You're not allowed to do it. So that's more about transitioning from one screen to the next. It's going to do its best to really create some beautiful, unique effects. If you did want a GIF to post, be it on a website, social, or anywhere else, the way to do that would be to, apologies here, so let's go, we'll get out of here. You'd want to click on the down arrow. You'd want to hit more if you can't see all these options. Scroll all the way down, and from this angle say download video. At this point you can choose animated GIF. Right, so it's a bit of a workaround, because if you just say download, you'll see that GIF isn't included in this list. So again, just to try to clarify that. So if you want to download an animated GIF, you've created this little coffee mug and it's dancing. If you hit download, you'll notice that GIF is not mentioned in the file list. There is no GIF. However, if you do want a GIF, what you have to do is hit the down arrow for more options beside download. Make sure you hit see more. Let me just hop to another design so we can see that here. So there'll be show more at the bottom. You'll click on that. Show more, and then scroll all the way down on the bottom, and you'll see download video. In this option, there is the capability to download a GIF. So this way you can just have the dancing GIF going across. And you want to choose, which page. In this case, our GIFs on the first. And that covers the main ones. There still are a few more interesting ones I want to cover, specifically with websites and embeds. Just one more time, though, I'd actually created this GIF for that purpose of it. We kind of jumped ahead. Now, because you'll notice that in this case it says download video, and it gives you these options. Why is that? That's because from the home page here, you'll notice that for the various Canvas screens, there's kind of a contextual download in the top. So you see here download video, present, and print business cards. So depending on the design type you choose, in this case, if you said video, which one have we had that? Animated social graphics. Sorry. So obviously video would work for that, but if you did animated social media, let's create a new animated social media. You'll see in the top right is the download option for the video. And even better part is you get a few extra options here for how long it'll be. No, sorry, no, that's just the preview. It's giving you extra options, extra visibility into what it's going to be looking like. But you see here in the top right, it's been changed to download video. In this case, you can just choose immediately the GIF. That's in comparison to our standard design we created. And you'll see that the download is just for the normal file type as opposed to the GIF. At which point, if you wanted a GIF, again, down arrow, scroll through, download video, and then GIF. So it's kind of just shortcutting that ultimate good option. And again here too, if you wanted to instead just have this as a flat image, you decide against going a video, that down arrow will present everything else for you. So we hit the down arrow, you can see download, and now we could choose our file type instead. So big button is usually what they suggest, kind of contextual to what you've created. The down arrow will give you all the additional options we can consider. So that's for the file types, PDF, presentations, and videos or GIFs. A couple more options I want to consider or show you. So specifically when you do create a presentation for Canva, really beautiful examples within that. So I'm going to give you a few different options. First is to present. We covered that a little bit, but you'll see here it's given immediately up on the top. So we'll hit present, and of course now, much like before when we covered the other one, you can see you have complete control. You can click on the arrows or press left and right, and now you can present it. So kind of a neat way to do that. But in addition, because I created this as a presentation type, so specifically from the home page, when I said create a design, I said presentation. And because I did that, it gives me this extra option here that I can download it as a PowerPoint. So if you want to download this and edit it in PowerPoint or send it to somebody else as a PowerPoint, this is a great option for that. So now because we've specified that this design is a presentation, the other options that are immediately shown to us, as we can share a link just like the other ones, so I send it to somebody, they can see it. website. Now this is a very basic website. It's basically just that presentation view that we saw with a few options. So, do it with caution. But in this case, you can choose whether the website is in presentation mode, where each page will just kind of show one by one. Scrolling, so just have it stacked one on top of the other. You can have one with a very basic navigation, so if you want to go to those various screens. And standard, so it's a single page site with a navigation bar. Right, so let's go ahead and open the website. Now you'd want to obviously rename everything so that it would make sense, but clicking on the top right here will bring you to that part of it. I'll tell you, let's actually go through that right now. So let's call this home, page 1, and page 2. I'm just currently renaming the page types, 1, 2, and 3. So if we go to website, and we'll say standard with a single page site with navigation bar. Let's open it. So there's our new names. So fairly basic, doesn't really look all that great, but in a pinch, if you really need to get something onto the web, which anybody would be able to access this URL, not a bad option. 1, 2, and 3. Now, why I caution this a little bit is that it's not going to be responsive whatsoever. So if somebody comes to this web page on a mobile device, their experience is really going to be hampered, as you can see. Let's refresh that. Yeah. So it'll still work, but just to be cautious that there is certainly limitations with it. It's not trying to suggest that this is a true website replacement, but it just gives you some options. So in this is the presentation view, just where it's like stacked one on top of the other. Kind of a nicer option, I think, because it lays bare a bit more that this is not truly a website. But again, you'll have the same issue. Whoops. Wrong button. Let's go instead to inspect. As you can see, it's not really going to scale appropriately on mobile device, so it could make it hard to read. So you'll want to keep that in mind if you decide to do this option. So something to consider if you want to get it up. There's unique ways to do that. You could obviously create it that's very everything is very large and easy to read, so it could be a good experience for somebody who's browsing it as a website, and a cheap, quick way to get something up online to show somebody. Another interesting way to use this, you can actually embed the design into your website. So if you go to the top right, we'll click on the download, and you'll see embed here at the bottom. So if we click on this, I'll give you a little discussion about it, and we'll click embed. So 2 links here. Now this top one, if you can insert code into a website like WordPress, or if you have a different engine like Squarespace, you can copy and paste it in. It'll show great. Some sites, I think like WordPress.com and Medium, if you just paste this link, it'll do the rest for you. So Medium's not really going to let you add code if you're blogging there, but you can just grab this and it will know to grab the design itself, which is really great. But generally speaking, you'll be looking at this HTML link, and let's just really quickly put this into our WordPress site. So to get to this, again, in the top right of the download, I'm looking at a presentation. I clicked the down arrow to get me the other options. I clicked embed, kind of accepted that for the embed, and here's this top one, your HTML link. So I'm going to click copy, and now I have it. If we go over to our website, now I'm using Beaver Builder, but this will work in Elementor and Divi and anything else as long as you have the code element and drag that in. So now I'm adding in code, and I just paste the one that I got. I'll click save, and there it is. So another interesting way to use your designs if you have your own website, as opposed to creating it, downloading the image, uploading it, you can embed it. And even better is that if you decide to change anything on the design, so the truth of being outdoors, if you update it there, it's going to update on this page. Now I imagine it would update with a update when I add the code again, or I might need to refresh if it's been cached. Let's just discover this together quickly. That's thinking, and there we go. And there's the update to that as well. So an interesting little trick to think about that, where you can design your content on Canva and then have it show up real time on the website. So you can imagine if it's like a portfolio, you can keep it up to date and have a bit more fun with the design on Canva instead of having it on your website itself. So last one, yeah, so as I kind of alluded to it before, in that if you have various printable objects, Canva will suggest printing it. Now you can just download it as the, again, if you press the down arrow, you come to download, you can just download it in the high quality PDF and not have to worry. So if you have your own printer that you want to use or somebody you've used in the past, totally an option. However, they do have their printing service that you can walk through and figure out the cost for it, the shipping, and all the other great stuff. So definitely an option, and it will print based on what you chose. So, you know, if you said a flyer, where we first created the design, you'll see that the options for printing the flyers show up immediately on the top right. But as we kind of discover within this, if you press the down arrow, that's how you'll get to the rest of the options if you want to kind of circumvent that and just download it or embed it or any of the other options. So as you get, it's really fascinating, all the various ways you can access, share, download, and post your designs using Canva's tool. The big thing to remember is the download button does exist on the top right. The big button will be the most contextual one for you, as in download this image, print this item, present this presentation. But the arrow right beside it opens up the bevy of other options that you can do, and it's fairly unlimited what you can get going on with Canva. So enjoy downloading those designs.